Let's take a trip around the curve. The actors start strike preparations a week ahead of time, the extended deadline, as they are definitely striking up and making posters and signs preparing for the strike captains at the SAG headquarters over the weekend. A documentary is in the works about UPS and its union workers as the union braces for a potential devastating strike. CAA signs writer-director Sheridan O'Donnell of Little Brother Rising Phoenix. A Black Lady sketch show is ending after 4 seasons at HBO, and Netflix strikes a wide-ranging theatrical deal with Germany's Constantine film. ESPN Films today announces Gracie, a multi-part documentary series about the legendary family fighting dynasty that brought mixed martial arts from the streets of Brazil to the world stage. It's been 70 years since Gentlemen Prefer Blondes hit screens with Marilyn Monroe and Jane Russell as Lorelai and Dorothy, just 2 little girls from Little Rock lounge singers on a transatlantic cruise, working their way to Paris and enjoying the company of many eligible men they might meet along the way. While Carol Channing was a hit on the big stage production, she wasn't even considered for the film, and the piece was originally brought to Fox as a vehicle for Betty Grable. According to Marni Nixon, the studio initially wanted Marilyn Monroe's entire voice dubbed, which she thought was awful. 45 years ago, college life never looked the same after Animal House hit the big screens, brought to us by John Landis and Harold Ramis. It was built around a 1962 college, and it won the People's Choice Award in 1979 and was shot entirely in the state of Oregon. One of its co-stars was Tim Matheson, who I co-starred against in the hit series on the CW called Heart of Dixie. Tom Hughes, who was also one of the young stars in the film at the time, went on to be in the Oscar-winning film Amadeus, where he played the title role. And the original idea was to populate the cast with regulars from SNL, including Chevy Chase, John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd, and Bill Murray. However, most of these early blooming stars were more interested in carving out solo careers, and Belushi was the exception because he became the biggest star of them all. A sequel was planned and scrapped for good when Belushi died in 1982, and Karen Allen, seen there, went on to Indiana Jones fame. This week on the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata, we've got a ton of documentaries that we're reviewing, including the WHAM documentary that is streaming on Netflix right now. WHAM is the group where George Michael got his start. Shaun White, the Flying Tomato, has a documentary that's streaming on Apple TV+. We'll be talking all about him and this young woman, Liv Ullmann, who was known for her tumultuous relationship with Ingmar Bergman and for her role in The Doll's House. Plus, LeBron James and Drake have brought us a wonderful documentary about Black people on ice. Yes, baby, it's called Black Ice, and it is coming to theaters near you. And we got Mission Impossible, all that coming up on the Curvy Critic right now.
Hold up. Wait a minute. I wish you love, peace, and hair grease.
Love, peace, and hair grease, y'all.
Yeah, you know we shoot straight from the hip.
This is Carla Renata, a.k.a. the Curvy Critic, and I shoot straight from the hip.
Yeah, you know we shoot straight from the hip.
Hey, y'all. Hey, how you doing? It's Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Film Critic. I am going to tape this today because I'm going to support a friend of mine, excuse me, at a screening, and I didn't want to leave you guys in a lurch. So if this is your first time joining me, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back, baby. I am Carla Renata, the Curvy Film Critic, and you have tuned into this podcast, which reviews films and does interviews with people above and below the line in the film industry. Like I said in the intro, I have a plethora of documentaries to get to. I won't waste any time getting to it. And an interview with the director of Mission Impossible 7: Dead Reckoning, Christopher McQuarrie. So I usually always start the show out with what I did the week before, and this was a nice surprise. So I got to see a quote of mine get published about a film called Biosphere, which is out starring Sterling K. Brown and Mark Duplass. And there's my little quote in the caption from them, which is kind of funny though. This cartoon version of Sterling kind of looks like Lawrence Hilton Jacobs. I don't know why, but that's the first thing I thought when I saw it. And then I also took my mom to see Tina, the Tina Turner musical, which was at the Pantages. As we know, Miss Tina died a couple of months ago, and my mom went to high school with her. So I thought it would be a nice surprise to take her to see that. And it was a fantabulous show. If it's coming to a city near you, I highly suggest you check it out. And coming up this week, we have the Michaud Film Festival on Saturday, July 15th, where I am one of the panelists on a panel called Era of the Reboot. It's moderated by Trevon Wesley, who's the creative producer at IMDb. You'll have myself, Jolene Rodriguez, who is the CEO of Broken English Productions, and Xavier Byers, the a production finance executive. So that's what I did last week, in addition to watching a bunch of films. WHAM is streaming on Netflix. It is a documentary directed by Chris Smith, and it chronicles the rise and fall of the UK pop group and George Michael's struggle to stay in the closet. It was an amicable breakup. Andrew's influence on George was insurmountable. George Michael's father was not supportive of him at all as a human being. It was tastefully done and focused more on the group rather than George and the negativity that swirled around his death later on in his life. I highly suggest watching it. This is Andrew, and this is George Michael as we remember him looking before he passed away. Shaun White, The Last Run. When this young man came onto the scene in the Olympic world, we used to refer to him as the flying tomato because he had this flaming, flaming, flaming red hair, and it was long and fluffy, and he was just and he was just doing all the things. And this is him from when he won in Vancouver in 2010. So this documentary has been streaming on Apple TV Plus since June. I'm sorry, is that right? No, I'm sorry. It started debuting on July 6th, and it's not on Apple TV Plus. It's on Max. My bad. And it's an original 4-part series that chronicles his life and his career from growing up in Southern California to becoming and setting a precedent with snowboarding. So this is what it's about. It's a revealing portrait of this 3-time Olympic gold medalist and one of the greatest athletes to separate sports, snowboarding and skateboarding. It is a story that includes his childhood struggles with a congenital heart condition, the development of his unbeatable talent, sacrifices made by his unconventional but remarkably supportive parents, the move into snowboarding at a young age, 5 to be exact, and of course his exploits at the Olympics, where he holds the record for the most gold medals by a snowboarder. I smiled the entire time watching this particular documentary. It was so inspiring and so wonderful to watch. With success comes haters, and he had his share of those as well. And it's just a really, if you're looking for something to inspire you and show somebody that doesn't know what saying no is, this is a great documentary to watch. The importance of having a great team behind you is something that you see in this documentary. Watching his process was fascinating, down to creating his own pipe run in the mountains so that he could practice, and how money and fame at a young age and parents keeping a tight rein on you can make you kind of wild out. And then grappling with the age and the decision to step away, because when you are an athlete, it's almost like a drug. You're like a junkie to whatever sport it is you're participating in. And we got to see the painful decision of him stepping away from that. So again, it is streaming on HBO Max, or Max as it was formerly called, and you can see that there. Liv Ullmann, A Road Less Traveled. This is a documentary that played at the Cannes Film Festival. It's been out, I think, since May 21st. It's a docu-series, and it's a 3-part docu-series depicting the life of this Norwegian icon who's a world-renowned artist and a dedicated humanitarian. We see exclusive interviews with people ranging from Jeremy Irons, Kate Blanchett, John Lithgow, to Jessica Chastain. We see her being nominated for the Oscar against Liza Minnelli and Diana Ross, and Liza Minnelli won that year for Cabaret. We see her talk about being in musicals, knowing that she couldn't sing. We see her talking about chasing, running down the street to chase Greta Garbo, because Greta Garbo is also a really famous Norwegian actress, and they're the only two that I believe have received Oscars. And then we see some candid discussions between her and Jessica Chastain and her and Kate Blanchett about A Doll's House and what that character looks like and how it should be portrayed. And then we also got to hear about her career, her relationship with Ingmar Bergman. If that name sounds familiar, he was also married to Ingrid Bergman, and they have a daughter together that you've seen in a numerous amount of films. But what I'd like to say about Liv Ullmann is that her enthusiasm for the art of cinema, acting, and directing is unstoppable, and it was absolutely fabulous to watch her talk about that. Again, it is a Viaplay docu-series, and so you can find it anywhere where you can find Viaplay online. Black Ice. This is a documentary that is being produced by these three gentlemen: LeBron James, Drake, and Maverick Carter. These three sports icons got together to produce this documentary about Black men, Black women who are in the sport of ice hockey. It's directed by Hubert Davis. It won the 2022 People's Choice Award, uh, not People's Choice winner at the Toronto International Film Festival. And Black Ice exposes a history of racism in hockey through untold stories of Black hockey players, both past and present, in a predominantly white sport, mostly Canadian, and their desire to speak up and not being supported, because if they are speaking up, they're usually being seen as a troublemaker. And it goes into the history of Black men and women in the hockey space, which I was not aware of before I watched this documentary. So I highly suggest checking it out. It will be in theaters this week. All right, and then I also wanted to tell you about, there's a film that's coming out this week. I don't think I have a picture of it though, which kind of sucks. I thought I did, and maybe I didn't pull it out. No, I didn't. So there's a movie that I reviewed during Sundance called Theater Camp. That's coming to theaters, Searchlight Pictures, on July 14th. It's directed by Molly Gordon, Nick Lieberman. It's written by Noah Galvin, Molly Gordon, Nick Lieberman, and Ben Platt, who won the Oscar, won the Tony for Dear Evan Hansen. And it deals with an eccentric, let me come on camera so y'all can see me, because I know you're about tired of hearing my voice at this point. It deals with an eccentric staff members of an upstate New York theater camp who band together when their beloved founder falls into a coma. Baby, I laughed my ass off at this in Sundance. It is so fucking funny. If you are a theater geek, if you have ever been to theater camp, you will get your entire life watching this particular one, okay? And last but not least, honey, I'm going to get into Mission Impossible. You know that I am. Tom Cruise is back, baby. He is back as Ethan Hunt. And this time he is with Miss Haley Atwell. When I tell you, this is a scene from them handcuffed, driving in a car, and they just got out of the car. Haley Atwell steals this film from everybody. As wonderful as Tom Cruise is, as wonderful as his other co-star, Vanessa Kirby, is, as wonderful as the yummy Esai Morales is, it is Haley Atwell who steals this film. She steals it. She is breathtaking, and the film is breathtaking in every sense of the word. The stunts are insane. Tom Cruise executes them perfectly. Rebecca Ferguson is stellar, absolutely stellar. Vanessa Kirby, like I said, she is classically evil with sophistication, which perfectly fits this franchise. And Esai Morales, who replaced Nicholas Hoult. Remember, Nicholas Hoult was supposed to play this role as the villain, is absolutely stupendous. So let me come back on the camera and talk to you guys about this one. Mission Impossible 7, there's a lot of hype around it, and deservedly so, because it's the shit. It is so good. It had me stressed out from beginning to end, and I was fortunate enough to be able to speak with the director of the film. His name is Christopher McQuarrie. So without further ado, I'll let you listen and take a look at this interview with Christopher McQuarrie, the director of Mission Impossible 7: Dead Reckoning. Dude, this movie stressed me all the way out.
In a good way, I hope. In a good way.
Yes, in a good way. I was like, the whole time. So having said that, I want to talk to you a little bit about the scene in the Fiat. How do you film something like that, especially with it going down the stairs? How do you plan that? Like, do you plan the shots? Do you do it one time? Like, just tell me about it.
Well, specifically with the Spanish Steps, we do what's called a pre-visualization, where we animate the entire thing and edit it together so you know every single shot that you need, so that you can build everything that you need to build, and there's very little guesswork in it. It gives you a lot of prediction. The one thing you can't predict is what happens when you really get there and when you start to shoot the sequence and the actors are in that environment. And I would say, to summarize the entire chase, you're in a car where we put an electric motor in it. It's given it a lot of power, way too much power for a car of that size. So its behavior is unpredictable. You come to Rome, all the streets are cobblestones. So no matter how you drift, no matter how you skid, no matter how much you rehearse, the surface changes every single time, so you can't predict where the car is going to go. Then you handcuff your actors together so that each one of them is driving with only one hand, depending on who's behind the wheel. And on top of all of that, you have two extraordinary actors who are performing very delicate, very specific comedy with one another. Comedy is the hardest thing to shoot. It's the hardest thing to get right. And the comedy that they're involved in would be difficult if they were doing it around a breakfast table, and they're doing it on top of all of those other factors. And what really makes that sequence work more than anything else, I'd love to take the credit. It's the two actors. They are truly brilliant, at the top of their game, and just a delight to watch together.
Well, you can take some credit. You wrote it, right?
Oh, yeah, I did that too.
So we go. But what is it about this particular franchise that keeps you coming back?
The opportunity, really, more than anything. It's Tom has been extraordinary in encouraging me to do exactly what I've always wanted to do on film. When you watch this movie, Part 1 and Part 2, particularly, you're seeing every movie I've ever wanted to make all jammed into one place. It's really, I've had the opportunity on these movies to live out my dreams, and it's just a blessing. I'm very grateful to be here.
It's a blessing to watch. It really is.
Well, thank you.
Let's flip back to the casting for a minute. In casting Haley Atwell, do you think that her Marvel background as Agent Carter gave her a little bit of edge in securing this part?
I'll tell you what gave Haley the edge. Tom and I have been talking to Haley for the better part of 10 years. We've been looking for just the right vehicle for her innate talent. I saw Haley on stage years ago and had the opportunity to meet her after seeing her on stage. And there's such an incredible quality to Haley as a person, as a presence, and it's something that I can't define other than she's got it. And we wanted to put that in a movie somewhere and really give her the showcase and the opportunity to show what she had to offer. And what you're seeing is us getting out of her way.
Listen, she did the daggone thing, and so did you. And last but not least, you know, I got to talk about that crag shot where he hops off in that motorcycle. I'm like, I'm going to need Tom Cruise not to do another stunt. We need him. We need him at the box office. I'm going to need him not to jump off of nothing else. No more trains, no more mountains, no more motorcycles.
I got bad news for you. You're not going to stop him. There's more coming. And yeah, I would definitely recommend taking a deep breath before you watch the next one.
Oh, bless. Shooting that, how did you plan that? Was that unpredictable, just like shooting the car?
We planned it right down to the smallest detail, and practiced it in the United Kingdom on a ramp that we built over a quarry. It just, until you get to the real environment, you can't truly predict what you're going to get. And of course, as soon as we got to Norway, everything that that we had planned ran into variables that changed the entire plan. The difference on Mission Impossible is we lean into the chaos. We don't invite it, but we fully expect things are going to change. We don't go in naively believing that this time it will be different. And so when everything changed, we just adapted to it. So the cameras that we used, the way we designed the shots, everything that we had planned going into it, we tossed out on the day and shot it in a way we didn't quite expect. Within a matter of hours. It was very, very quick, the pivot. The one thing we couldn't predict is when Tom went off the ramp, what was going to happen, whether there was going to be a crosswind, whether the temperature was going to affect things. You're always trying to eliminate variables. There were just variables that we couldn't predict until we got there. So he truly, when he went off that ramp, he was going into the unknown.
Oh, Lord. Well, I'm going into the unknown with this part two, but part one, I know what I'm getting. Christopher, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you answering these questions for me because I was riveted.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
When I tell you I was stressed out, I was stressed out. I'm running out the door, so I just want to remind y'all of a couple of things. If you are in the Los Angeles area, make your way over to the Michelle Film Festival, to the Era of the Reboot panel on July 15th at 3 p.m. You can go on the Michelle Film Festival.com website to register there. Check out the WHAM documentary on Netflix. Check out the Shaun White, The Last Run documentary on HBO Max. Check out Liv Ullmann's documentary on Viaplay, and check out Black Ice, which is coming into a theater near you this week. And of course, Mission Impossible 7 Dead Reckoning. Next week on the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata, we are finally going to be talking about, damn, they cloned Tyrone, the Stephen Curry documentary, Underrated, Bird Box Barcelona, which will be on Netflix. And finally, y'all, we about to talk about Miss Barbie. It is about to go down. I have the entire cast of Barbie, with the exception of Margot Robbie and Ryan, because I didn't get them, but I got everybody else. So if this is your first time joining me, give me a big thumbs up to let me know you were here. Click that bell for notifications if you are on the YouTube. Every place else, sign up, join, subscribe. And thank you very much, you guys. I have hit over 8.4 million views. Thank you so very much for all of that. I really, really do appreciate it. So until the next time, love, peace, and hair grease, baby. And deuces. I see y'all next week. Bye.